We are back for another edition of our NFL Week 11 DFS strategy and lineup builds. Yeah, it's already Week 11. Wow, time is flying in this NFL season. We're headed down the back stretch. You know, we crossed the halfway point a couple weeks ago, and it's Week 11. Yeah, so we do have some trends that we want to discuss and that we want to further evaluate to see if we need to keep following these trends or not. And we'll get to that shortly. But first of all, we are gentle and blissful, gifted and beautiful, generous and benevolent, and most appreciably grateful and blessed. Guidelines to achieve GAB Sports. It's your boy Q, aka Young Moolah. Here, we would like to thank you for joining us here at GAB Sports. It's been a great journey so far as we're documenting this process. We're building this channel from the ground up, and we duly appreciate your support. Go ahead and take that time, like the video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media. Appreciate it very much. Thank you for tuning in. Yeah, and so we're going to get right to it, I guess. We want to jump into what we want to dispel this week. Jump right in of what we want to dispel this week and maybe also for the coming weeks, right? Let it go. What you talking about, Willis? I'm going to jump into another segment of Forget What You Thought. This is what you need to know. And so this week, I've really been looking at a lot of the winning formulas so far this season, and it has involved mostly writing a lot of the chalk plays. And I'm here to just tell you, we're going to go ahead and put something to those chalk plays this week. Yeah, we're just going to go ahead and put some TNT right to it, man. Just dynamite. We're going to blow that chalk up this week because I don't believe that is the way we need to proceed as the season winds down. Why? Because people are getting so comfortable. So remember, we're in large field contests. So when people get really comfortable with playing the chalk week in, week out, it becomes easy for them to set the lineups, right? And once it becomes easy for you to start setting lineups, you just go with the popular plays because they've been hitting at such a high rate. You just continue to feel comfortable in doing that. That's when this game tends to just come up from behind and just bite you right in the ass, you know? And so I'm at the point now where I'm ready to zig when people are zagging. I'm ready to zag when people are zigging. And it's time to get super contrarian out here in these streets if we want to take home the top spots right here this week, week 11, as we analyze this DFS landscape to close out the 2025 NFL season. It's time. Yeah, it's time to zig and zag. Off of that chalk, we come with the contrarian super plays, and we're going for first place each and every week, as we always are. But this is how we're going to get there. You don't ride that chalk this week. All right. That's what you need to know. Forget what you thought. This is what you need to know for the rest of the season. Forget the chalk. We're blowing it up. Get that chalk. We are blowing it up. Blowing that chalk up. All right. Okay. So we put this in. This was one of our 3 max contests that we went with last week. One of our 3 max entries. And if you follow us last week, we were talking about how you got to go heavy on a lot of these stacks because there wasn't a lot of teams that I wanted to trust last week. So we went heavy on the stacks that we played. This was a clear example of that. And it came out pretty good. You know, we had a pretty decent score on this one of 198 fantasy points over here on DraftKings in one of our 3 max contests. And so we went with a Detroit Lions stat. And we had Goff, Jahmyr Gibbs, and J-Mo. So we had a 2-man stack with Goff, and we ran that back with a very cheap Treylon Burks. And I wanted to do that because I thought maybe I knew Treylon Burks would be pretty much non-existent. But he had been getting some snaps, so we wanted to run something back in that we felt that Detroit could get out fast, get up big, and then they would have to pass the rest of the game to try to come back, Washington, overall. So we felt good about that. And that came in at the late slate of games for this lineup. And earlier we had a play of Breece Hall. We wanted to come with some more contrarian plays last week, and that was one I had noticed. I wanted to get away from some of that those chalky plays like Rico Dowdle. So I got away from him, at least on this line. I did have some Rico Dowdle, but I got away from him on this lineup. And so we brought him into this lineup. And we couldn't quite get up to Puka Nacua. And so we went with Devontae Adams, who actually had a decent score. And one of our top plays was Nico Collins, as you remember. And he came back with a 25 burger, which actually was very nice at his price, $6,700, and he was also long. And we rounded it off with the Kittle play at tight end against the Rams, and he brought back a good score. That was also a late hammer for us, and we ended up with the Rams defense, which only brought us 6 points. But overall, we had a pretty good score of 198. So we'll go ahead and take that any day of the week and go ahead and build off that for this week's lineups. So again, theme for last week was going heavy on our stacks that we played, 2- and 3-man stacks, nothing less. This week, don't think you have to do that. There will be certain cases where I will do that, but a lot of skinny stacks this week are in play and some doubles. And I think very few actually of the triples will be in play, but some skinnies and some doubles, the field. And that usually comes with the 40K front four. Yeah, we like that one. She's about 12K entries actually. And so with this type of field, a field of 12,000, it's pretty similar to our 3 maxes, but we're trying to shoot for the first place, right? So we often will take a little bit more risk in these lineups, maybe just one type of a pivot off of our 3 max type of a lineups, where just one play that may be pretty low owned and has some risk reward type of a boom bust profile. So with that being said, we want to start off kind of unique already with the stack we're going to choose here. And it's not that it will be invisible to the field, but I think the way that I put this one together may be different than how other people will put theirs together. And that's going to be a Buffalo stack. So we're going to roll with some Buffalo. We're going to ride those Buffaloes. And I'm hoping actually Kincaid is out for what I want to do. Because I'm thinking he is on the way to being out. He wasn't spotted to practice today. So that being the case, yeah, we want to go ahead and go a Josh Allen, a double stack of Josh Allen. And so we're going to go with the unconventional component, and that will be the running back. First, James Cook. And on top of that, if Josh Palmer's back, we got a little bit of interest in that guy. He was starting to assert himself before he went down, and these other receivers haven't really done much. So we'll go ahead and put Josh Palmer as another piece where I don't think too many people who use Josh Allen, even if they happen to use Cook, which a lot of people don't tend to use the quarterback running back, but even if they do, they won't add the Josh Palmer piece more than likely. So we'll have a pretty unique stack, I believe, just by combining the stack this way. And so that being the case, I think we do want to run something back here because Buffalo's defense has really been sliding lately, and I think they're exploitable, especially by a guy like Baker Mayfield. And so we do want to run something back with that. And we'll choose one of the cheaper pieces. So Godwin is doubtful, and I don't think Bucky's going to play either. So we are definitely going to go with our guy. Let's see, maybe Sterling Shepard might be the play this week. I'm going to put Shepard in for now. He's at 4,200. Yeah, we're going to put Sterling Shepard or Tez Johnson, but I'll go with Sterling Shepard for this play. And some of our stronger plays that we're looking at this week come out of the early games. You have Cincinnati, Pittsburgh. We have Chicago, Minnesota, 2 high-profile games. But there's a play that I'm very high on. If you happen to be paying attention, you saw he's one of my poster boys. He's coming out of that Atlanta, Carolina game. So we're going to go ahead and insert Bijan Robinson into this lineup. And I can be pretty sure that Bijan Robinson will not be owned this week. And the reason I say that is because he's coming off 2 ho-hum to very bad games, and that tends to steer the masses away from higher price guys who don't have a game log that they're really excited about, recency bias type of thing. So, and hopefully he comes in low owned as I am projecting. And so, with that being the case, we put in Bijan and James Cook. We got 2 pretty expensive running backs with a pretty expensive quarterback. So what does that tell us as far as what we need to do with the rest of the lineup? Normally it will say pay down for the rest of the lineup. But we're going to try to get really, really creative here and do a little bit different. And we're not going to really run to a pay down quite yet, because there's a couple of guys that I really like, and I want to try to squeeze them into this lineup as well. One being Trey McBride, the top dog tight end for the week. And with Marvin Harrison ruled out, this guy is possibly in line to see 15 plus targets. I mean, that's just a random figure, I know. But with the scenario that it is, they don't really have a strong running game. And also Marvin Harrison being ruled out, it's quite possible that you could see 15 plus targets from a Trey McBride this week. So we're going to try to get him into this lineup. And now there's another guy who is not quite a pay down either, and I want to see if I can squeeze him in here as well. That would be our second poster boy. That would be T. Higgins. All right, and we go ahead and put him in the receiver spot so we can try to work with that flex spot over here. So T. Higgins at 6K in that Pittsburgh-Cincinnati game. And I'm getting just a feeling. It's just a hunch, and just call it just something that have the experience of just watching a lot of football over my lifetime. So trust me on this one. I can see that a guy like a Mike Tomlin, after facing Cincinnati a couple weeks ago and watching Jamar Chase just run roughshod all over this team, just get 23 or 25 targets somewhere in that neighborhood, catch like 19 balls, I would almost bet he has a plan to take Jamar Chase out of this game. That's just a hunch. It's just a feeling, just from me watching football, understanding a coach like Mike Tomlin's mentality, to where he's just not going to let a guy just annihilate him twice in a row, especially in such a short span of time. So look for Jamar Chase to somewhat be taken out of this game to the best of the ability that the Pittsburgh Steelers can do, and the beneficiary of that could very well be a guy like T. Higgins. So that's the angle I'm going to take here on that one. And so we're going to squeeze T. Higgins into this lineup as well. All right, so that leaves us with a very shallow 7,600 for a defense and the flex position. So for the flex, we can go up to maybe 5K. And going up to 5K, we get a very nice piece. And it's also a piece in that Niners game. And that being George Kittle, the double tight end. We've built very few double tight ends here at GAB Sports. I mean, I do use them. I utilize the double tight ends. I just very rarely build one on my stream. But we're going to go ahead and do that this week and put in George Kittle as a complementary correlated piece with Trey McBride in the late slate of games as well.
And so we'll go ahead and go with the double tight Kittle McBride, same game. And so that leaves us with 2,600 for a defense. Wow, we stumbled right upon the Broncos right there at the top. Hey, wouldn't you know? And it's kind of interesting that the Broncos are much cheaper than the Chiefs in the same game. And so the Broncos actually intrigue me here in this spot. Why not? Let's just go ahead and put the Broncos right there. 2,600. We have Josh Allen double stack with James Cook and Josh Palmer. We ran that back with Sterling Shepard early games, and that would be Bijan Robinson, one of our poster boys of the week, who I believe will come in very low owned and will be a nice pivot off some of the chalky plays up top that you might get. Then we have T. Higgins, another guy who we're going to be pivoting off of Jamar Chase. And we'll see where the ownership comes in. I'm not too sure where these ownerships will come in on these two guys, but we're just going to bank that T. Higgins is lower than Chase. And we feel our angle of Chase being keyed on by the Pittsburgh defense is going to impact him and benefit T. Higgins. Then we came with our double tight end in the late portion of games. And that would be Trey McBride and George Kittle. And we rounded it off with a very reasonably priced Broncos defense going up against the Chiefs at home in Mile High. Okay, we're going to look to jump into a dog bowl. All right, let's go ahead and do that. Okay, let's see what the Wildcat is looking like. All right, it's about to fill. So while we wait on that dog bowl to fill, we'll just jump into a Wildcat. See what we got here. We have the number 2 pick. All right. Thank you once again for joining us here for our NFL Week 11 DFS strategy and lineup builds, where we build lineups on DraftKings and also go draft a few teams on Underdog each and every week of the DFS season, the NFL season, for DFS purposes. And we want to thank you for joining us because this has been an amazing journey. Appreciate your support. Please take the time to like the video, subscribe to our channel, follow us on social media, leave a comment. We do like the interaction. Appreciate it. Also, check out the store. We got fresh items such as the TNLU sweatshirts. We got mugs. All right, let's go. Okay, we got auto drafted. That's fine. We'll take Puka because he's our number 2 pick anyway. It's either Puka or Bijan. All right, so let's see what we're working with as the 5-6 turn coming back to us. We're coming back with, let's see which running back we'll go ahead and take here. Hey, we can go Josh Allen or James Cook. I think we're going to go Josh. We have very few Josh right now. We'll go ahead and pick him up. After this pick, we need to go ahead and check on our dog bowl. See if it's filling up. Oh, we can get that same stack over here. The Josh Allen, James Cook. Hey, we'll take it. We will take it. Stack already. We don't need to force any more Buffalo plays. Yeah, let's just fill our queue up in case we have to go on auto over here. What other tight ends do we want? ETN, Gadsden, Harvey. Kelsey, Rome, Pitts. Yeah, got enough plays now. I do like Nico. Seems to be a strong play this week. T. Higgins, another one of our fan favorites this week. Let's go with it. All right, this draft is shaping up very nice for us. And now we need a tight end. Should we take Gatz in here? Don't think I want to take Gatz. I'm going to go with Kelsey. All right. The old venerable one. So we can take all these tight ends out of our queue. Okay, so we'll go ahead and recap this one because we're going to jump over into our dog bowl. All right, we'll go with RJ Harvey. All right, so we got Josh Allen, James Cook. Then we paired him up with our backfield with RJ Harvey. And then we have a Puka Nacua and T. Higgins combination with Travis Kelsey. All right. Let's jump on over to our dog bowl. Looks like we have the number one pick. We do. We're not going with Christian McCaffrey. We're going with Bijan Robinson. Yes. We're taking Bijan. All right. A little contrarian pick there. Yeah, sometimes you have to even be contrarian when there's a draft. Sometimes you can't just take the guy who's rated number one, even if I have him number one. Because I just got, my feelings are getting stronger and stronger as the week goes on. That Bijan is the smash play this week. And so I'm going to go ahead and act on those feelings. And we're taking Bijan. Yeah, ahead of Christian McCaffrey right here. So, okay, so this board, we have did they give you an extra amount of time here or something? Because it seems like they're doing that. These clocks are starting really hot. Crutches is in here at pick 9. Let's see what he's going to do next. Get too comfortable playing the same guys over and over on a weekly basis. And so I'm going to tend to expand my player pool this week to guys who I normally would not even be playing. And I think this is at that time of the season where you just have to, like I said, zig when people are zagging. You just got to get out of the way of that herd of people that are just going one direction. That groupthink is just taking hold of the masses and everybody's playing the same things. They're hearing the same plays over and over. We're just not going to do that. Yeah. We want that all to crash and burn. Or we just fly up out the ash to the top. Yeah, let's do it. One thing about these dog bowls, you just really have to have a strategy of taking value mostly, because the players that you really want and like the stacks you're going to really want, you're just not always going to be able to get. So one of the best things to do is just be patient, look for the value. And what I mean by value, the positional value. Say that the tight end position is only giving me 3 top plays this week, and the rest of the guys are all just in the same bucket. Then you want just those 3 top plays, or else you just wait till the very end. Or say the receiver spot starts to dry up. Then maybe I take my quarterback early and just wait on receivers, right? Because you don't really want to force a bad play in a dog bowl, a bad pick, where you're just picking a guy just way too soon when there's other value at other positions on the board. So you got to really study the board and see, how many backs have been taken, how many receivers, and where does the drop off, all right? So right now, our pick's coming up, and the value seems to be quarterback's going to dry up pretty quick by the time it gets to my next pick. So if a guy like Lamar happens to get right here, I think I'm just going to take him just because he's the kind of guy. He's the kind of guy that can just go off, right, in any matchup. So, yeah, go ahead and land that plane. I'm going to go Lamar. And then we're going to take, we got our 2 poster boys. Hi, how about that? we got Bijan and T. Higgins. Bravo. We'll take that. Okay. And so now, if we want to look at the running back position, the running back well may be all dry by the time it gets back to us. But that's okay, because I really didn't think the guys who were available here were worth the pick, the second, third turn. And so I just rather maybe build with a 3 receiver lineup this week. And don't discount, although I don't have a premier tight end, but there will be some builds once you get a premier tight end. Don't hesitate to maybe add a second tight end to those builds and go with like a 1-1-1-2-2 kind of a build where you got 2 tight ends this week. Each week presents different opportunities, but this week that's not a bad strategy to take like maybe a Kittle or Trey McBride as your first tight end, and then adding a guy like a Pitts later, a guy like Otten later, right? If you're going to go with a Baker stat and that type of a build, because this is the kind of week where those type of points might be enough. Like a Otten may give you like 6 for like 60, 6 for 60, 6 for 50 and a touchdown, right? 5 for 45 and a touchdown. That might be just enough to still sneak you into this dog bowl. You get one of those seats. If your other picks do what they're supposed to do and smash too, right? But yeah, because it gets really, 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 really thin toward the end of the drafts this week. So that second tight end could be the best play, 5th, 6th round over some of these other position players. So don't dismiss that as being a good strategy this week for 12-player drafts. Jacoby Myers is getting a little interesting. All right. Addison, we do like some Addison. If we can get Addison this week, we will take him. Are there any Baltimore plays that we do like? Not really. Probably go skinny Lamar. We'll tack on likely, though, just in case. Okay. So we already have Bijan, so we're not going to take Pitts too. We can go Tez or Otten here. I think I prefer Tez. All right. I'm going to go Tez. Calvin Austin. All right. We're going to swing for the fence. Worthy. Here we go, man. Let's do it, buddy. All right. Yeah, we went with the 1-3 route. Yeah, I think I'm just hoping for that one big play out of Worthy. I think he can do it. Yeah, we will have an opportunity. Because one thing about the Chiefs, they will throw the ball a lot. They will get some volume passing in because their running game is one of the worst in the league. So they're going to have to throw. And one thing about Denver, they will come with that pass rush. So in the couple of chances that you will get when you pick up that rush, you pick up that heavy rush and you got time, Mahomes, there may be an opportunity downfield. And that's what we're looking for with Worthy. That one play gets me into the dog bowl. Possible. I'm not taking Andrews. You can't keep making a touchdown every week. Just can't. He's got 3 in the last 2 weeks on just 8 targets, 3 touchdowns. Somebody else has to get some of that, right? See who he takes. What's your guess? I'm going to guess he takes Fannin. Schultz, okay. Jay Orlando needs a tight end. Yeah, Likely was getting up the field too. Pretty decently against the Minnesota. There was a couple passes that just didn't connect. One PI that was a pretty deep pass at the seam. So if he gets loose for one of those big plays, man, then he happens to put one in the end zone, you could be looking at a difference maker tight end that you get late. So that's why we're shooting for the home run. All right. We're up. Okay. Let's close this one out with our guy Likely. Okay, there you have it. So we started off with Bijan Robinson out of the one hole. 2-3 turn. We had a falling Lamar Jackson. We snapped it up. Then we paired him up with T. Higgins on that turn there. One of our top plays of the week, T. Higgins. Came back on the 4th, 5th turn with 2 more receivers. We went for guys who can give us some touchdowns, we're hoping, right? They're both in pretty good game situations. You got Worthy with Mahomes as his quarterback, so, hey, he's always got a shot, right? And then you have Tez Johnson on the road at Buffalo against a very subpar Buffalo Bills defense. We'll take that. And then we also and then we finish it up with Isaiah Likely paired with Lamar Skinny Stack on the road against Cleveland. All right, there you have it. Okay, we can go over Crutch's team. Let's go over Crutch's team. He's got Rashid Rice, Drake London, strong duo receiver. Gadsden at the tight end spot, Swift and Tracy as his running backs. And then he went with Aaron Rodgers. Oh, he's got a solo Rodgers, huh? Okay. And then who else? We got Mythology. He is out of the 3 hole. He took CMC, Devontae Adams, RJ Harvey, Jordan Addison, Cade Otton, and Bo Nix. All right. Bo Nix, RJ Harvey pairing. Okay. Not bad. All right. Good luck to all. But
Really good luck. The most good luck to us. We want to see. All right. The 600K play action. Okay. 20 max entry. 237,000 plus entries. All right. So again, strategy. You always have to be mindful of the size of your contest, and that's going to dictate the strategy of your build. It should. So for this build, we're going to take a few more chances, but not going to go crazy. So what we want to do, we want to start off with a sound stack, though, one that has lots of potential, but is also not that expensive. And so we're going to go down to the cheap quarterback prices, and we're going to snap this guy against a very suspect San Francisco defense. We're going to take Jacoby Brissett. And we got to definitely take his top target, the number one tight end, Trey McBride. So that's a relatively inexpensive stack, not super cheap, but also not super pricey. And so we start off there. And do we have any interest in a run back? The Niners are fully healthy now. Well, not fully healthy, but they're getting back some of their top players. And so I am interested in a run back here. And that run back would be, this time we're going to go with one of the receivers. We're not going to jump right into Pearsall. He's coming back for the first game. We're going to run back Jawan Jennings. Yeah, how about that? But we also have a sneaky play here. With Marvin Harrison being out and Zay Jones being put on IR, there's a guy here, 3,300. He's been getting some snaps. Don't discount it. And he can make plays. Greg Dortch, man. We're going to go ahead and put Dortch in there. Okay. All right. Now, do we have a pay up that we want to do at wide receiver this week? And we actually do. And it's coming out of that late schedule of games as well. And that would be our guy, Puka Nacua. With Devontae Adams. Yeah, he's going to play. And, we hear he's going to play. But those obliques can be tricky, man. One wrong turn or twist, and you could be right out of that game. So I think Puka could be in line for quite a bit of targets here. So we'll go ahead and put him in our flex spot. Puka Nacua. And now the running backs. This time we're going to go with a cheaper play than Bijan. And we're going to go ahead and go with Jacobs is very chalky this week. And to me, I don't know. Don't really want to use him. Jaylen Warren is like in the best spot of all time, right? Okay. And we'll pair our guy Jaylen Warren with our poster boy, who we love a lot this week. So that'll be a correlating play with T. Higgins. All right. And then that leaves up with 9,600 for a running back and defense. So we can go up to about roughly 7K for a running back. Let's see who fits that bill. Cook, 7,300. We got, who else we like toward the top? Not really loving in many of these names here. I mean, Cook, we do like. Dowdle, we're not really liking this week. Big Dogs, contrarian. Judkins is even more contrarian. And Vidal, we do like some Vidal. All right. Vidal, we like ETN. Let's go with Vidal. Okay, so we got Vidal. Now it leaves us with 3,700. I don't know. Do I want to go Vidal or do I want to go with ETN? Vidal, his touches are pretty high, though.
think I want to go ETN though. ETN's at home. They've lost some receiver plays there. So I think they may lean heavily on that run this week. And Vidal is going to be a little chalky in my opinion. And to me, the chalk is pretty fragile this week. And I believe moving forward, because there's just too many plays that you can go to now. It's 11-game slate for certain guys to be chalky, certain guys who just don't have that oomph. They don't have that just studliness built into them. And when those dudes are chalk, the kind of just average players are chalk, I would rather just not ride it because they can fail at a higher rate than those stud guys who could be chalk, right? And if there's always a pivot available, I would tend to do that. And so we're going to go ahead and go to Travis Etienne in the same game on the Ravens. We got the Texans. We're going to go with the Texans against that horrible Tennessee Titans offense. So there you have our last build. We went with Jacoby Brissett, skinny. No, actually, we got a double. A Jacoby Brissett double with Greg Dortch and Trey McBride. Ran back with Juwan Jennings. And we came back with a early running back combination in the early slate of games with Jaylen Warren and Travis Etienne. And then we have T. Higgins to correlate with Jaylen Warren. And then we have Puka Nacua in our late schedule of games as our late hammer. And the Houston Texans going up against that Tennessee Titans woeful offense. So there you have our last build. This one's going into the play action, which is very large field. And we like our chances in this one, right? All right. So there you have it. It's been wonderful. It's been a blast. But we're going to go ahead and sign off right here. Thank you for joining us once again. NFL Week 11 DFS strategy and lineup builds here presented by GAB Sports. Well, appreciate your time. Thanks for tuning in. Like, subscribe to the channel. Feel free to leave a comment and keep grinding. Hope to see you at the top of the standings alongside myself this week. Thank you. Peace. We're out.